What's up, guys? Kate Wilson here to bring you my review of the series finale of Eureka 7, Astro Ocean, episodes 23 and 24. Now, in episode 23, it was pretty much the final battle against Truth, where he was still conflicted whether to use the Quartz gun because he knows that if he uses it on Truth, then he's pretty much erasing Truth from history, and he didn't know if he should do it or not. And, Elena and Flair, they were backing him up, and the fight between Truth and Generation Blue, to me, um, it was a good battle. The animations were very good. Actually, for both episodes, the animation was on point. However, I thought there would be a little bit more action, a little more firepower with Truth, because Truth, with his LFO, well, I should say IFO, it has some good weapons, but it didn't really like a all-out, blowing-out battle. Truth versus Owl. It didn't really feel like that, destined battle between these two opposing forces. You know what I mean? But still, I said it was a decent battle. And pretty much Naru had came and she tried to protect Truth, and pretty much, she believed that Owl couldn't beat Truth because he didn't have an archetype. And if you guys don't remember, an archetype is pretty much like an LFO or IFO, where its inner structure is pretty much has sculpcore within it. That white structure, then it has like the glowing green orbs in it. That's pretty much what she means, like a living sculpcore within the IFO. Because Owl's nearby, it was straight up machine. And when they're all fighting and everything, and Truth actually attacks Naru because he wants to make a world where there's no secrets and no sculpts quarrel, and he needs to destroy everybody. He's crazy. He's a rabid animal. And so Owl decided, I'm going to erase you from history, and then Truth was gone, and that pretty much changed history because now Naru was working with the Allied forces, and she was actually trying to destroy the secrets. So with Naru being taken out, Owl, he was pretty much didn't know what to do because, every time he's the only one that knows what happens when what happens before when you use the quartz gun. So he's kind of like, okay, Truth didn't exist, so what's gonna happen now? And then after the whole battle, here comes the big return. Renton Thurston, the hero from the original series, he arrives, and everybody was saying it. When that nearby Spec 5 came out, and then Eureka had returned on the Generation Blue, as a ghost in a sense. And she was like, he's here. And then Renton arrives, and he just destroys the Sculptor. And I gotta say, I pretty like the design of the Spec 5, this version of the Nearvas. It looks pretty cool, with the whole staff, and then it has like those homing beacons that shoots lasers and everything. It looks pretty cool. Reminiscent to that of like the last transformation of the Nearvas back in episode 50 of Eureka 7. So Renton, he returns, and he pretty much at first he doesn't realize who Owl is. He knows that he's part Corallian, but he doesn't know who exactly Owl is. And we actually find out that the official name of the Nearvas that Owl has is called Nearvas Neo, which sounds pretty cool. It sounds right. And then Renton arrives on the ship, and pretty much it's the family reunion with Renton, Eureka, and Owl. And then Renton realizes that that's his son. And of course, when Owl sees Renton, he's angry because he believes that it's his fault that everything happened with his mother and with him, and how he wasn't there for everyone. And now, with Renton return, he has his own goals and plans in order to fix everything because he believes that he has the idea to fix everything so that Eureka and Owl can live together, as a true family. So then when we get to episode 24, pretty much we see with the interaction between Renton and Owl, and also with Owl's adoptive grandfather. He's also there. And Renton basically explains the whole thing with the Sculptor and how like the secrets are really like the white blood cells within your body, how they fight off infection, and the Sculptors are really like infection to the earth. And it's this whole basically long battle for years and years, for decades, actually centuries, I would say, of the secrets destroying the Sculptor. And pretty much in order to survive, they needed to find a place where there were no secrets so that they can pretty much stay on the planet and evolve and everything like that. So Renton's overall goal was pretty much to take the quartz gun and pretty much go back in time thousands of years to the first Sculptor to actually erase it from history. And he was looking for this weapon that in order to do it, and Owl had it. But of course, all he couldn't let his father do that because he knew that with changing history like that, it would change everything that he knew with all the people like Elena and Flair, Ivica, all the members of Generation Blue. That he didn't want that to happen, and he knew that his father had good intentions, but he just couldn't allow it. So it was pretty much at the end a father versus son battle, Nirvas Neo versus the Spec Five. The animation, like I said, it was very well done in episode 24. I liked the whole battle scene. Um, and pretty much we find out that it was true that Renton did have a daughter from the beginning. That Renton and Eureka had a first child, and the only problem was that she died immediately when she was born, and she turned to stone because the whole thing of with human cells and sculptural cells, together at a high trapper area is not good. That the cells will die out and pretty much the the baby turned to stone, and that was heartbreaking for them. So they didn't want that to happen. So Renton's goal was to destroy the original Sculptural so that they could all be a family again, so that they won't have to worry about anything. And the thing is, Owl he lived this long with both having both Corallian and human cells. He's lived for like around 13 years. So we don't know exactly how long Owl could live on this planet, but he's lived so far for over a decade. So I mean, maybe he could live on the same planet. And the battle continued back and forth with everything. And pretty much we find out actually what's funny was that the Nirvas started talking, and that it turns out that Truth was reincarnated into the Nirvas, and that the Nirvas Neo had an archetype within it. And it was pretty weird because Owl's greatest enemy ended up being one of his greatest allies. So when he defeated his father, he took the quartz gun, he went to the beam of light, and he went back in time. And let me tell you, there was a whole bunch of time travel in this last two episodes. Changing history and everything. And so he went back in time. He met his mother, but then we find out that that apparently when she originally came on the planet and then she left in the beam of light, and that broken up Nirvas was actually Owl, and that he actually explained that that she's his mother, that they're related and everything. And man, so much time travel, man. But pretty much in the end, we get the last family reunion with Renton and Eureka and Owl pretty much said that he had to sacrifice himself so that everybody would you know live better. You know what I mean? Because he's the only one that can do it. So he went back and he just used the quartz gun and he changed history again. And yeah, at the end he was just in the broken up Nirvas, with Truth, and I think for a good amount of time because his hair it changed, it got longer. So pretty much he went to the same planet. However, things changed. Gazelle, for some reason they changed his look to actually look more like Holland. I thought that was pretty weird. But yeah, and then at the end, Owl was just decided that he's gonna go and see what happens if he's gonna live on the planet or if his cells are gonna break down and he's gonna turn to stone. He doesn't even know. But then, Truth, he left within the Nearvos, and that's pretty much how the series ended. Owl actually going back to the planet and see how things have changed and what's gonna happen. If maybe his parents are still there, he doesn't know. Now, honestly, I'm gonna say this with the series finale. If you did not watch the original series Eureka 7 and you only watched Eureka 7 AO, then you probably thought this ending was phenomenal. You thought this ending was great. And I'll say this was a decent ending, but for fans like me who watched the original series and then watched the sequel, I was really expecting a lot more. Especially maybe a few flashbacks with the life between Renton and Eureka, and especially with the past characters from the original series like Holland and Talho, Stoner, Half, and what about the three Doctor children from Eureka, Maurice, Mater, Link? What happened to them, or what happened to Anemone and Dominic? Or there's so many things that we don't even know about. So many characters, good characters from the original series that we don't get to hear what happens to them in the sequel. All those years have passed. And that's the only thing that really main letdown is that we aren't really going to get that much information. But however, I will say that it was done right. Everything with Owl sacrificing himself was pretty cool, and the whole reunion with Renton and Eureka and Owl, that was something I was looking forward to. It was pretty cool to see. But yeah, like I said, like the whole thing of all those characters from the original series, and we don't get to see what happens. It was really a letdown. But I would say that the ending was somewhat decent, and I would say was a little bit satisfying. I don't really think they're gonna. I don't know if they're probably gonna make another series out of this, another continuation, either with Al, living on this new world, and maybe perhaps from this new series we'll get to know what happened to the other characters. But overall, I gotta say, I did like both episodes. You know what I mean, except for the fact that we didn't know about the other characters. Overall, the series, I will say that it was slow at the beginning, but at the end it really did pick up, and yeah, I enjoyed Eureka 7AO. You know what I mean? I still think the original, the first 50 episodes were way better than Astro Ocean, but still, this was a decent sequel. You know what I mean? Fans like me, we wanted to see a possible sequel, after we got the movie and everything. But I would say overall the series was pretty good. Decent series, but nothing like the original. The original was like up here, and AO was like down here, in my opinion, anyways. So let me know your thoughts down below. What you thought about episodes 23 and 24, and how the series ended, and your thoughts on any events that happened, and your thoughts on overall the series in whole. What you thought about Owl's development and anything, just leave down below your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video. If the video, thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. And if you guys want me to do an overall, series review of Astro Ocean, then I probably will. Just leave it down below if you want to. If you want me to, yes or no. I'm rambling now. So anyways, thanks for watching. See you guys later. Peace. Yeah, we're done. Astro Ocean. Peace.